Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here at my next Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles episode review. This one's for Season 3, Episode 10, Serpent Hunt. And yeah, overall, this was a good episode. I think that the show is definitely hampered a little bit right now just by the fact that the early episodes this season have really just robbed the series of all of its momentum. And so, just watching the show, it's difficult to really get back into it and just be as excited as you were at the end of like season 2. It's slowly getting there because, like last episode, this one was a kind of marked improvement over the first 8 episodes of the season. But it still, I don't think, was amazing. Like, it was just a kind of good episode. There was nothing spectacular about it. Obviously, there's some important events that happened in it, and that the whole episode basically revolved around various factions trying to find Karai and basically use her for their various kind of plans. Obviously, the turtles just want her back to make Splinter happy again because she's his daughter. Um, Shredder wants her back because he raised her and thinks of her as his daughter, and Ivan and Zek want her to get out of the city and save themselves. And obviously that leads to a lot of conflict in the episode, a lot of fighting, and eventually ending up with Karai running off, but giving the turtles a clue as to where she is, but Zek and Ivan are captured and mutated and become Bebop and Rocksteady. That's fine. The problem at the end of the episode, and that being the big cliffhanger ending to the episode, Bebop and Rocksteady are now in the series, is I don't care a single bit about the two of them. At all. These characters were way more interesting as humans than they are mutated. Mutating characters has little to no impact at this stage in the game, just because of how many characters have been mutated so far. I really don't understand why they're making this out to be such a big deal when it's really not. Like in reality, this takes away from Zek and Ivan's characters rather than adding to it. And I've seen the original Turtle show, but I don't have any real connection to Bebop and Rocksteady. Like, they're just like, okay, like, they're mutants. And especially in this show where there is so many other mutants, why do I care? Because I get that in this episode they presented the idea that basically Ivan and Zek basically defeated the turtles in combat earlier on in the episode, and that they are going to be, I suppose, a threat next time they face the turtles now that they're mutated. The problem is that it's just going to happen the exact same way with Fishface, with Razar, and so on, Tiger Claw even, where yes, they'll be a threat and be able to defeat the turtles for like an episode or two, but eventually the turtles will get the upper hand, and then they won't be a threat anymore, and they're just going to be more guys that the turtles can defeat in combat every single time. To the point where Shredder is the only character that the turtles really can't get the upper hand on. And that's cool setup because they're not just resolving it really quickly, and he's always going to be a threat in the series because of how powerful he is. And the whole setup about Splinter and Shredder and how they're basically equal in combat, but the turtles aren't quite there yet. That's cool setup, but every other villain in the show just doesn't have the, I suppose, the character or anything in the series to really warrant me like caring massively about how strong they are. So that was that. I liked that the episode addressed Karai a lot and that we got to see her. It wasn't like a kind of tease, okay, where is she for most of the episode? No, we got to see her very early on in the episode. We got to see her kind of morph back into her more human form, and see kind of that she's kind of losing herself gradually to the mutation, which is interesting in itself. Just that, okay, some people get mutated and they regain like all of their sentience, like basically Fishface and Razar. They're not being overcome basically by the kind of DNA they came into contact with. Like, Fishface isn't gradually becoming a fish and not talking anymore and stuff like that. Razar, I don't even know what he is anymore. He's some sort of a crazy dog, I suppose, at this stage. He's not becoming a dog, basically. Tiger Claw isn't becoming a tiger. They have little aspects of the animal that they are, but they don't. They're not like flat out losing their humanity sentience to it like Karai seems to be. And then you bring up cases like the I think Timothy, the kind of plot going on with Donatello and the kind of guy who was mutated into goo, basically. He just flat out lost all of his humanity basically with that mutation. So there's a little bit of inconsistency with regard to like, okay, some mutations leave the turtle like grand sentience. Like with the turtles, they basically what's the way to describe this? They were normal turtles, and then because the DNA that they were mutated with was human, which was Hamato Yoshi Splinter's DNA, they've gained sentience, while other characters are losing it because of their mutation, and then it depends on the mutant stuff like that. And they're also bringing up the point that Donatello's making more of the retro mutagen to demutate, basically, Karai, April's father, and everyone else in the city. So that's going to be a plan going forward. How does he make that in like a big enough quantity to basically unmutate everyone in the entire city? That's a cool potential plot going forward, but it doesn't seem like there's a lot. There's a lot of interesting stuff to go with it. Basically, just it's kind of like, okay, collect ingredients, make it in a big batch, and find some way to distribute it. It doesn't seem like there's going to be a big plot, a big character journey to regards to making that. That's just something that's probably going to happen at some point. I like that Splinter is kind of still not back to his normal self, I suppose, because Karai is not with them. That the Turtles and April and Casey, to some extent, are adapting to the fact that their new base is in this kind of pizza shop, and for now they have to think of this as home. But Splinter isn't quite ready to do that because Karai's not with them. And so the Turtles are very eager to do that, and so on. So that was good, and the episode in itself, I suppose, at the end, it does some interesting things. It just doesn't have the impact that it kind of maybe should have had. Like as I said again, the whole Bebop and Rocksteady thing is just, I don't really care. Like I really struggle to see how they're more interesting now than they were before, and just why that decision was made to mutate them and stuff like that. It really seems like it's for nostalgia's sake only, like just because, oh, we have to have Bebop and Rocksteady in this series at some stage, so let's just take these two characters who have the potential to be interesting in that, like, they're thieves, kind of Russian mobsters, and they're kind of working for themselves, even against the Krang and Shredder, and let's just mutate them and make them Baxter Stockman 3.0 or something like that because of the amount of characters that's happened to. Interesting human characters who get mutated and just become another lackey of the Shredders. It's really getting to be a problem. Like it's happened with everyone. Like Bradford, Zever. The second they got mutated, they lost everything interesting about them. It's a real problem in the series, actually, that someone gets mutated and it's just like no character with them anymore. Karai is the kind of exception because she's a kind of good character now, and there seems to be a bigger plot going on here with regards to them saving her and how they go about demutating her and stuff like that. But everyone else, it's just, please stop mutating people. The show, I think, at this stage, needs to find a way to just destroy the concept of mutagen forever in the show. Just take it away from the show. It doesn't need to use it anymore. It's just, there's no reason for the show to use it anymore. It's so overused. To the point now where I'm kind of like, the mutagen is basically a Krang thing. I hope that this season basically, at the very least, gets rid of the Krang for a while. That we don't see them for a season or two or something like that. Again, I'm not really sure about how many seasons the show is actually going to go on for and so on. But I hope the Krang's thing is resolved quickly and mutagen is just taken out of the series. So the show can be more character focused. We're not every human character getting mutated is not something that we're threatened with in every single episode. It's a huge problem with the show and has been since very early on. To the point where just a human character getting mutated has very little impact. Like, really, one of the only characters who would potentially have an impact getting mutated would probably be Casey or Shredder. Like, if one of those two got mutated, to be like, okay, that seems fairly big, but even then it would be like, I'm not really sure what they do with it. So yeah, that's basically the episode. You know, there's some nice fight scenes in there. You saw that the turtles were a little bit better at fighting the Shredder, but not there quite yet. They seem to really be setting up Leonardo versus Shredder, kind of, because they seem to have a pretty nice, just little back and forth in the middle of the fight there, where it was fairly even until Leonardo got kicked into the kind of container in the background. So that seems to be something set up going forward, and I like that. But overall, it seems a little bit inconsistent that like the turtles had some level of training out in the woods, but they're still not able to beat everyone that well. They don't really seem to have increased in powers that much. So I'm interested to see where the show goes, but it still needs a run of episodes. Like, the show has led me to just believe that it can't do like 3, 4, 5 good episodes in a row. So far, we're kind of two in a row right now. 2 pretty good episodes in a row. Hopefully, they don't mess this up. Hopefully, they continue it to be plot focused like they have been. They have an obvious goal to go to next episode with continuing the search for Karai. Giving us our first, I suppose, proper episode focusing on Bebop and Rocksteady. As much as I'm not really excited for those two, it's something new that the show can do. But yeah, that's the review. Definitely in the comments, let me know what your thoughts were on the episode. Really want to know. Just it seems like a interesting episode. I know some people are huge fans of the original series, probably much more than I was, and will be probably loving Bebop and Rocksteady coming into the series. But for me, just watching this series and having seen some of the other Turtle series, I'm just like, okay, they don't seem that important. But yeah, that's been a review. Thanks for watching, and bye.